Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good night, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another, because that is what's most important. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into the topic of this episode, I'd like to welcome back to the channel my two cohorts and co-hosts, Mr. Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
Going well. Glad to be back.
Glad that you're back. And the one and only Mr. Jim Bricker.
Hello, Armando. Good to be back with you and Ken. It's been a minute, as
I
the kids
know.
say.
Yeah, it's been nothing but a hot minute. Oh,
Indeed.
very true, very true. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to an episode of Thinking Outside the Box. In this episode, we're going to be looking at our favorite box sets. Okay. Um, and we are looking at these sets in three categories. Okay. Artists or group, compilations, and our wish list for the, I'd say, ultimate box set. A box set that we would like to see put together that hasn't
Ooh.
already been done. So, as I look at my my two cohorts here, I will move the virtual mic over to Ken, and he will go first.
Thanks, Armando. I'm going to go back to 1989 with one of my favorite box sets of all of them I own from the Allman Brothers band Dreams. This is a 4 CD box set, 55 tracks, runs just at 5 hours. It covers the years 1966 through 88. Um, it covers band tracks, solo works, demos from the various members of the band, including earlier recordings um, from the Almonds when they were other bands they were in were Almond Joys, The Hourglass, Second Coming, 31st of February, all of those, which are really nice, and some very interesting covers that they did too. This box set is compiled by Bill Levinson, who just previous to this did the big Eric Clapton box set, which is very good and covered those early years. But this is just a really great uh, collection of studio live, some tracks that were previously unreleased or were edited, live tracks that were edited down, for the previous albums. Like a lot of artist box sets, this is a really good entry point to the band if you're
Mhm.
only familiar with just a couple of the songs. Um, it's got the hits, but it's got a lot of really nice deep tracks in it.
Mhm.
And like I say, for 5 hours, I used to have a CD player that held 5 discs, and I could just put it in and it would just play all the way through, which was great for like a Saturday or Sunday afternoon.
Mhm.
Um, I grew up in the South, and in the South, there's a lot of times kind of a people saying, Allman Brothers or Leonard Skinner. Well, it was always Allman Brothers for me because it's a little bit more blues oriented, and
Mhm.
you know, um, it's just so good for me. So anyway, that's my first one, Dreams from the Allman Brothers Band.
Okay. Well, I should say too, I mean, when the box sets first started coming out, like in the early, like late 80s, early 90s, they weren't really something that was on the market um, in vast quantities. Do you know what I mean? For example, I do remember David Bowie releasing Sound and Vision, which I had on vinyl. I do remember the Led Zeppelin set that came out. and they always came out in these big encumbersome boxes. You know what I mean? They look like a pizza box, that you had to carry around. And
Yeah, they were album size, yeah, dimensions,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it was quite um, you know, interesting to get these, but as the years have gone on, ladies and gentlemen, and you probably also that, I mean, everyone and their mother has a box set released, kind of a thing, in terms of a band, right? Like in terms of reissues and compilations and stuff, and re-releases. So they've become a lot more commonplace as the years have gone by. That's my last bit of 2 cents as I am hosting this episode, ladies and gentlemen. So down to Jim for his first pick.
All right. I'm going to go. Well, I'm going to add to your little history lesson there, Armando. The thing that really launched the box set into something being a commercial viability were two things. One was the release of the 5 album set of Bob Dylan's Biograph, which was a phenomenal cross section of his entire recorded output out to that point with Columbia,
Yep.
all the classics and then alternate live versions, outtakes, things that were never before. It's like, Bob recorded this. I mean, it
Yeah.
was sort of the definition of what a good box set was and kind of set the standard.
Mhm.
um the second one that really catapulted it into prominence was Springsteen's Live 75-85.
Yes,
I
from
mean,
85.
the whole CD player market took off because of 75 to 85. You
Yeah.
could buy it as 5 albums or 3 CDs. And, Springsteen was on such a stratospheric arc in his career around, 86, that it just made absolute sense of, why you would put that out. Well, we'll talk about Bruce a little bit later.
Okay.
Um, and anything else to add to my little history insert there?
No, no, no. You're fine. No.
Okay.
Well,
It's
I'd
Uh,
like to add that one of the great thing about most box sets is it usually comes with a really nice booklet and or
Yes.
liner notes or whatever that it would go through every single track and give you all the information about it. And
Mhm.
um, so just like in the days of old when we used to buy vinyl, there was something to read while we were
Mhm.
listening to the music.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
So
days of old.
yes,
Back when I was a youngster, um, way back in the day. Yes, yes. No, it's true. It's true. They've come a long way. But I digress. Um, Back over to Jim for his first pick.
Sure. My first pick is actually something that Ken tipped his hat to, which was the Eric Clapton Crossroads set, which was
Ah,
the very much kind of the harbinger of the Dreams box set. There
yep,
probably wouldn't have been a Dream set if there hadn't been a successful Clapton set. This was a kind of hit all the high points that we were just kind of talking about. What makes a great box set?
hmm
1988, 4 CDs, covers all of his early stuff with Yardbirds, Cream, John Mayall, Blind Faith, Derek and the Dominoes, and then, of course, his long and successful solo career. This was a unique one in that it had, I think, 2 recordings to it, which were new and unique. I think it was a new version of After Midnight, and I forget what the other one was. Um, you know, they were very much of their time, let's say. But so those weren't the reasons to buy the box set. It was just having this massive career spanning compilation of someone who really defined, blues rock guitar for an entire, generation. I mean, and obviously one could have a real good argument of Hendrix versus Page versus Beck versus Clapton, but Clapton is definitely one of the guys that set the trajectory for rock and blues guitar for at least an entire decade. And it's just a darn shame that there wasn't more opportunity to hear what he and Dwayne had done together, because that
hmm
was some phenomenal playing, speaking of the almonds there. But yeah, choosing Crossroads as one of my favorite box sets was an easy selection.
Yeah.
And I know in these days, all these box sets are available mostly on your streaming service of choice, and it's really it's great that they're out there, but it's a shame that people don't get that experience of the big pizza box with the four CDs inside and the huge 56-page booklet of photos and essays and
Yeah.
notes about the tracks and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And just to interject something, I do have that Zeppelin box set in the other room, in the living room, on a shelf of with my vinyl. So yeah, and I do agree with you, Jim. There is nothing like holding this set in your hands and looking through the book and just having a hard copy of it, Um,
Yeah.
streaming services be damned. I'm sorry. There's nothing like that. So I understand
Right.
because it's such a personal experience, music.
Hmm.
So
And
I
I
kind of feel,
particularly like that new version of After Midnight, which I first heard on a Michelob commercial.
that's right.
Ah,
Years ago. I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, I think the other unreleased track is a was a different version of Crossroads, I think. Because
could be,
in the
yeah.
various bands he recorded that so many times in so many different styles.
Mhm.
Also, they released the sequel to this box set,
Oh, yes.
which Crossroads 2, which is all live material.
From the 70s.
Yes.
From a lot of it's from the tour. Oh gosh, what's the album that has the core on it? Um,
Yes.
yeah, that one. There's some great jams with Santana on that box set. There's like a 25-minute tune of he and Santana just going to town
Yeah.
Okay.
on a couple of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
Well,
box.
all right. Amazon, here I come. All right.
There
We're
Back.
you
gonna we're
go.
gonna stretch your credit card to the
There
limit
you
with this
go.
episode.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Over to Ken for his next choice.
All right. My number two choice is the very first box set from Led Zeppelin, the one that has the orange cover with the crop circles on it. It
That's right.
can get a little bit confusing talking about Led Zeppelin box sets because there are several that are only just called Led Zeppelin.
Correct.
Release this one. They did release another one, which has a blackish cover, which if you had both of these, you would end up having all of
Yes.
their recording.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
which is, I don't know. I can't decide if that's a brilliant thing or ridiculous. But anyway, and this box set was actually compiled by Jimmy Page.
Hmm.
Four CDs, 54 tracks, runs just slightly under 5 hours, 4 hours, 49 minutes. Um, in a way, it's kind of meh because it has um, mostly album tracks, just straight off the albums, with I think three previously unreleased songs that would eventually end up on reissues anyway. But here
Yeah.
again, this is a great entry level to Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
You've got
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
all the hits and you've got fantastic album tracks.
Yeah.
And for me, as I've said before, my favorite Zeppelin songs are the album tracks. Not the hits. So like I said, this is just basically it's a 4 disc greatest hits. And I got this before I really dived into all of their albums individually, which I would
Hmm.
eventually do with the remasters. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the very
No,
first Led Zeppelin box from released in 1990.
yeah. That's a good set.
Yeah.
Um, and a little side note, I was listening to that set on my Walkman. Um, it was a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, and I had the TV on mute, and playing on Much Music was the first single from the Tea Party. Speaking of a Zeppelin influenced band.
You
So,
okay?
um, and that was 1993. So yeah, um, it was a single for the river, and I thought it was an interesting thing that I was listening to Zeppelin, watching a new band that is quite heavily influenced by Led Zeppelin. So I mean,
Yeah.
very 6 degrees of separation there.
Yeah.
Um,
Another thing about that box set that was really, really cool, not only did they do a bit of remastering of things and really made the sound a lot more crisp, um, not horrendous. It just really, Page did a really nice job on it.
yeah,
Um, and not only did they include things like, hey, hey, what can I do? The live extended version of Black Mountainside, things like that. But he messed with the order. It wasn't just like, well, here's the order of the songs on Led Zeppelin 1, and then we'll do Led Zeppelin 2. He just mixed things around for
Yeah.
how it might sound properly sequenced for a CD. So he was really thinking for that technology and saying, what's the best way that to arrange all these tracks to make the best 72-minute, CD listening experience?
exactly. Yeah, like CD one starts with a whole lot of love, and then it goes into Heartbreaker.
Yep.
So, he just like you said, he mixed up the running order, and yeah, just to give the listener a different listening experience.
Right. And for those people who are used to Heartbreaker going into, Live and Love and Made,
Made. Yeah,
they had a little bit of a heart attack because, their life spent with Led Zeppelin 2 had now been upset.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, it was like when they first released the Beatles on CD because
Yeah,
they were the British track listing,
Oh,
not the
okay.
Columbia US. So people in the US would, put on, Hard Day's Night or whatever, and the songs weren't in the order that they grew up with.
Yeah.
Um,
that's
I was
right.
working,
Because
yeah, at the time I was working with a guitar player, and he was so pissed at that
yeah,
because he wanted it the same way, he always heard it.
I
It's
mean,
like,
yeah,
it's like Dan Chill, man. Got it.
EMI and Capitol were infamous for uh
Thing.
having different track listings for
Sure.
the British pressings of the Beatles albums versus the North American pressing. So Rubber Soul, I remember hearing the North American pressing started with I've Just Seen a Face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the
It's an
British
interesting
version,
choice, but it works.
yeah, but the British version obviously had a different running order. So
Yeah.
yeah, fans were a little bit screwed up there in terms of what they were listening to. I get that. I get that. All
Yeah.
right.
I didn't experience that myself because aside from just hearing Beatles songs on the radio through my entire, life and having like the 67 to 70 set, the double album. I had
Mhm.
never purchased a Beatles album proper, except in college when I bought the big blue box set that was all the Parlophone albums. So my experience of Beatles albums were
We're
the
the British.
the proper British sequence all the
Well, the
way. So
Parlophone release is okay,
yep.
Yeah.
versus the Capitol. All
Yeah.
right.
So I'm like the CD's great. I'm having a wonderful time.
All right. Well, you're an
Didn't have
adult.
that cognitive dissonance.
You, you are the man of the hour for a reason there, Jim.
What's with the heavy sigh?
Hey, it's fine. I mean, like I said, you are the man of the hour for a reason.
That's right.
And what is that reason? I'm calling you out, Armando. What is that reason?
Just because it's my show. There we go.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
There we go. You know what, guys? I'm screwed up now. Who goes next in terms of me hosting this?
Him.
Did you
Jim's
did you
next.
finish saying everything you wanted to about Zeppelin?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay,
Okay. Down to
fair enough.
Jim.
I'm going to take a a bit of a turn here. I'm going to go with a box set that doesn't. It was from a band that started, pretty much the same year as Zeppelin. Um, but their box set was designed for retail as they moved away from album racks to the CD long boxes. So this was a CD long box that, had the pizza tray in it, but it was, two stacks of two CDs. Anyway, way too much detail. Let's talk about the music. The band is King Crimson, and the set is The Great Deceiver, which was issued in 1992,
I have it.
which is the first. I could go into the closet and grab it and hold it as a visual aid, but I shan't. Poor planning on my part. Bill would be ashamed of me. This was the first release that really gave the non-initiated a taste of the absolute power and fury of the 1973-1974 King Crimson lineup
Okay.
of Fripp, John Wetton, Bill Bruford, and David Cross. Um, this, I mean, the USA release that came out in 75 hinted at it, certainly with its Asbury Park tune, but this release really kind of put it front and center and just made it inescapable that these guys were, not prog, they were not fusion, they were not metal, they were not acid jazz, but they were pieces of all that. You know, their sets were as much designed for tightrope walking improvisation as they were just kind of, thundering through their sets and taking little detours along the way. Um, Bruford had a little quip that he would say, it's like never play the same thing, you know, twice, the
Twice.
same way, never play it the same way. And Crimson's concerts were like that. It was not like a lot of acts today where everything is queued up with, lights and sound effects and, all these special things that have to happen all at the same time. They
Yeah.
just got out there and they played their asses off. I
Hmm.
mean, this is an amazing set. It covers six different concerts across 4 CDs, except for the Amsterdam concert in 73 and the Asbury Park concert in 74. Um, this is basically all the professional recordings that they had done during the 73-74 cycle of the band. And with the exception of one complete concert, everything on here is like a cherry pick of the best stuff. There's a lot of improvisation. There's a lot of that demonstration of how they would say, okay, we're gonna do, tune A, we're gonna do tune B, and we're gonna improvise our way between the two. And who knows how that's gonna go. And you know, does does a box set of King Crimson really need four different versions of Easy Money? Yes, exactly. They do, because of how they take off and depart from the text in each of these different versions gives a different flavor of how monstrous this band is. Um, One other comment. Eventually, this was re-released into like The Great Deceiver Volume 1 and Great Deceiver Volume 2,
Which is
basically
what I have.
splitting the 4 CD set into two different 2 CD sets.
Yeah.
Um, if you go on the streaming services, both volumes are there, and your ears will thank you mightily for the experience.
Two comments. And thank you for that. Now you're gonna make me want to go in and grab my copies of them and, blast the stereo and scare the shit out of Bob, running out of the
Well,
house
that's,
with his
that's what
skirts
Lark's
and
Tongues and
thing.
Aspic Part 2, that's why it's there.
Oh my God. No, I have those sets, like those CDs. Not in the long box, but in the two volumes.
Yeah.
Um, and so thank you for that. Another point I wanted to make, um, on a show that I did with Bill, uh, on live albums, and the question was put forward, do you need like for example, we talked about UFO and the re-release of Stranger in the Night, right?
Hmm.
Now, there is an 8 disc set of that live album. The first 2 discs are the original album. The 6 following discs are the shows that make up those albums, like the entire all every show. Okay,
Okay.
but every disc is the same show over and over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Now, the question was put forward, do you need a set where the same show is performed over and over again, the same songs in the same format? Or is it better to do different arrangements, like go off and do, like you said with King Crimson, just do a bit of improv here and there, go off on a tangent here and there musically, and just F it up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like just mix it up just slightly to make it more palatable for the listener. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Uh,
Hmm.
Obviously, from the way I'm ranting on, you know what my opinion is on that. But and just watch the show with me and Bill. It's a good show actually. But I'm just, yeah, what keeps me interested is variety
Yep.
and the unknown, you know. So thank you for reminding me of those sets. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to get those sets out. I'm going to bore Bob to death with it, but who cares? So, anyway, thank you again, my good sir. All right.
Yes released a box set not too long ago similar to that. I think it was like
It's
um,
Progeny.
Progeny, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was what, 74?
No, it was the Close to the Edge tour. It was the shows that made up like what was Yes shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like seven,
Okay.
it's like 14 discs of 7 shows and they're exactly the same, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I can't remember the year, but anyway.
No, it
Yeah.
was, I want to say 2020.
Well, when that set came out, yeah, but it was from like the Close to the Edge tour.
72. Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
and just just to remind everybody out there, a definitive Close to the Edge box set is coming out on with remixes, sorry, by Stephen Wilson, five CD, one LP set, and also one Blu-ray audio. Um, I'm gonna get my copy when it's made available. It's
Oh,
coming out in March, I believe
March.
March 7th at
yeah.
this point. So stay tuned
Yeah,
for that if you can get a copy.
there's a live show in there from the UK tour. I think the Progeny set is all from US dates, if I recall
Yes,
correctly.
I think
yes,
so.
Uh,
yes.
but again, the show, for those who are the purist, is an Alan White show. Remember, Bruford did not tour the Close to the Edge album,
That's
so
right.
Okay. Okay. You see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
yeah, he Bruford quit and went to Crimson. See, it all comes together. Yes, King Crimson, Bill Bruford. He
Yeah,
he quit the band in a fit of jealous rage. Those are my words, not his. Before they hit the road.
yeah. I found just a little side note. I find it quite interesting that he quit, yes, because he found it tedious being in the band at that point. That he was bored of being in the studio at all hours of the day and night because they were fighting over the slightest note change here and there during recording, and he wanted to challenge himself musically. Okay, so but I digress.
He he did.
I'm not one to gossip, guys. So, but all right, moving on.
Okay.
Next up.
Yeah, my next box set, um, by the end of this video, you'll sense a theme amongst mine, specifically the era of music I really love. And this is released in 2000. It's the first, it's the Big Purple Jimi Hendrix Experience, which follows that format of the long box. I think there might have been other formats too, but anyway, 4 CDs, 60 tracks. It runs about 3 hours and 20 minutes. Um, this was the first, uh, this is actually the first Hendrix I ever bought because I just, heard it on the radio and I liked it, but it didn't prompt me to dig deeper. But this box set did. It covers the years 66 through 70. Um, it's got alternate recordings, live performances, rarities, all of that. Again, it's like the my previous two. It's a great entry level to Hendrix because you get the hits and you get some fantastic album tracks. I mean, because he only released 3 albums before he passed. He was working on the fourth, wasn't able to finish it. So if you look online, there's just like dozens and dozens of Hendrix albums,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean they're all good. Sound quality wise and this, that, and the other. It's very, very, very mixed. But with this box set, it is all these recordings and the mixes are official.
Hmm.
Uh, and just done just so well. Another, 4 CD set you could put on a multi-disc player and just chill for over 3 hours, just letting it go. And there again, it takes them out of the original album order. So at least at first, you're not really quite sure what's coming next, but you're gonna like it.
Hmm.
So the Big Purple Jimi Hendrix Experience box set from 2000.
That's a good one. I want to get myself a copy of that at some point in time. I've been looking for it, and I was I can kick myself for not grabbing it when it was readily available in the stores at the time. So, all right, Jim, your next choice.
Yes, pardon me. I'm ready to go. I'm making notes because I'm going to call an audible later. So my next choice is a box set that came out last year, and this is the fourth of the archives set from Miss Joni Mitchell. Now, this particular archive set covers the period, my absolute favorite period of Joni's output, which is Hissing of Summer Lawns, Hejira, Don Juan's Restless Daughter, and Mingus. And this set is chock full of uh, studio demos, hotel room road recordings. There's two entire concerts in here. One from I think it's one from the Summer Lawn sessions, and then one from the Mingus tour, which had Jocko, Matheny, Brecker, Lyle Mays. I mean, that amazing
Yeah,
stellar band, and we've
yeah,
talked about that to
yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
yeah,
It was
the
like,
all of the Joni
oh.
archive sets are phenomenal, but this one is the phenomenalist. And it is the phenomenalist just because the songwriting during this period of Joni's career is just unparalleled, just in terms of her word imagery, the way that jazz chords and melodies began to really influence her writing. Musically, it was just this wonderful melding, and the tracks from the Hejira period, especially as they're covered on the Mingus tour, which is also covered in the Shadows and Light album.
Yes.
Um, it's just drop dead gorgeous. And the other thing about this is that it's a 6 disc set. When it came out, it was, I wouldn't say it was value priced, but you could get it for like $68.
Oh yeah,
And
no, no, no.
we're talking
Yeah.
like a 6 CD box set. Um, there are bands that charge like 120 for their things, but for the quality of the material, the elegance of the box set itself, I mean, the whole series is just looks
Oh,
beautiful on
sweet
your
Jesus.
shelves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this Joni archive set, if you have to pick one, I've picked all of them, but if you have to pick one, this one, Volume 4, is the one to get.
Yeah, no, Jim, if I could smoke a cigar right now, I would. I mean, it's that good.
Yeah.
It's that lavishly put together. In terms of the of how they've constructed it, it is beautiful. Um, and the fact that the entire concert that went into Shadows and Light is there for the first time. Um,
Well, it's the same tour, but it's a different performance. This
yes,
is
yeah,
from I think Forest Hills, New York, and the Shadows and Light show was in Santa Barbara, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah. But the fact that it's the same tour kind of thing, like I mean, it gives you uh,
everything. It's what you
everything is
always
there.
want.
Sorry, yeah, everything is there. Everything is there, and like I've got the three of them, the three volumes, two, three, and four. Volume one is no longer available on
Mm,
Amazon right now, but yeah, beautifully done, beautifully done. Great set,
yep.
great set.
And just a note, the archive set is different than the I'll call it the Joni album series, because
Yeah,
these box sets are like, oh, I don't know, 10 by 10 or something like that. And the album sets, which are basically re-releases of everything done on Reprise Records and then Asylum Records, those
yeah,
are different form factors, and there's only been three of those so far.
yeah,
And those are great because they cover her studio albums and the live albums that were released in that time period. But the archives, oh, that's where the real gold is.
yeah. No, those sets are the archive sets are worth the weight in platinum. Like really, I really agree. Oh my God, I get shivers up my spine thinking about it. They're that good. And they're that
Yeah.
well put together. Like it's a thing of beauty. Even just to look, even to look at how the sets are put together, it's a thing of beauty. So
Yeah, I said they look beautiful on the shelves, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not lying.
No, no, you're not. You're not. Enough of my gushing. All right, over to Ken now.
Okay, this is the only one of my artist box sets that's not a compilation. A lot of box sets these days are um, deluxe editions of particular albums. Um, this one, as far as the ones that I own, is the ultimate. Armando and I did a whole video on this.
Know where you're
From
going.
2023, it's Who's Next? Lifehouse Super Deluxe Edition.
Yes,
Mhm.
Retails for slightly under $300, sometimes more. 10 CDs and one Blu-ray. 100 and this is just the CDs. 155 tracks. Runs slightly over 10 hours. I'm not sure how much longer it runs if you include the Blu-ray to it. But anyway, it's got 89 unreleased tracks and mixes, and another 57 tracks that were previously released with new mixes. Amongst all this are demos, singles, studio sessions, um, two complete concerts. The Blu-ray has an Atmos and a 5.1 surround mix by Steven Wilson. Everything on this in this box set is remastered. It unless they release it as a hologram, I can't imagine how it would be how they could improve on this. The box set also includes a 100-page hardback book with liner notes um, and pictures and all that stuff. And a second hardback is a 172-page graphic novel, brand new, of the Lifehouse concept.
that's right.
Um, the sucker weighs over 10 pounds.
It's a paperweight. I mean,
Oh,
It's a
more than that, it's a
doorstop. It
doorstop.
is, yeah,
you
it
could use
is.
it as a weapon. I
It is
mean,
a
if
it
someone
is a
breaks in your
corner.
home,
It is a corner foundation for a skyscraper. It is a monster,
yeah, it is
and
a massive set.
it's got extra little stuff in it too, besides just all of that. Who buttons and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, this is one of my one of my two favorite Who albums. I've been a Who fan longer than any other band. Um, uh, Who's Next and Quadrophenia are undeniably my favorite Who albums. And for Who's Next to get this kind of box set release is just absolutely heavenly. To me, it's the ultimate. Before this, they did release the Who Sell Out in a wonderful box set. It's fantastic too, but it's not quite as immersive as this is. But that's because this album has so much history to it,
Hmm.
and that history is was recorded literally, and so you get all the all the life outs. The only thing that I think that it doesn't include is the single edit to "Won't Get Fooled Again,"
Which
which
is
is
fine.
it's a travesty ananyway, but
Yeah.
it's a curious travesty. So what I did is I downloaded it and I put it in the um I put my copy in to make it complete. So the Who's Next Lifehouse Super Deluxe Edition
Yeah,
is my number four.
all right, Ken, that was a good choice. I have that who, set now, who's next in Lifehouse. And when you were mentioning about there was a it has a long history and detailed history, that's because Lifehouse started out as a project, as an idea, that it got so convoluted. I really don't believe that even Pete Townsend knew what it was about at the end of the project. So, I mean, the fact that he kept all these recordings and that he was working on and fixed them up and released them, we're all the better for it. I mean, and the fact that on this set you have the studio version of Heaven and Hell, you know,
Yes.
that really should have been on Who's Next in the first place. But that's just my humble opinion. But that's a good choice. That is a good choice. And that sucker is heavy. You could use it to hurt somebody if you really had to. Use it as a weapon if someone broke into
That's
your
right.
home or
That's right.
something.
I don't have the box myself, but my understanding is that one of the selling points of the box was this show. I think it was from San Francisco, like
Yeah,
near New Year's Eve,
yeah,
1970. My understanding is that that show is like legendary for the Who firing on every cylinder that exists. Is
yeah,
that true?
yeah, yeah.
I think
It,
so.
it is on point. Every performance in that concert is fantastic. Yeah, yeah. All right,
Cool.
all right. Down to Jim now.
Down to Jim now. Okay.
You're next.
My fourth selection is a um, an expansion of one of my favorite double albums of one time. Uh, not of one time, of all time. This is Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, the Roxy Performances. Uh, this, this, my friends, is where things get really juicy. The Roxy shows were performed, I believe, December 73 and make up the bulk of the Roxy and Elsewhere album. And this
Mhm.
is what features what many people consider to be the best live band that Frank Zappa ever put on a stage,
Mhm.
with Ruth Underwood on percussion, Chester Thompson and Ralph Humphrey on drums. Um, uh, Gosh, everything leaves me. Tom Fowler, Bruce Fowler, Napoleon
Napoleon.
Murphy Brock. Yeah, it's just an outstanding band, and they're playing some of the most complex music that Frank ever composed, and they seemingly do it effortlessly. This 7 CD set has four complete shows from December 9th and 10th of 1973, because they did two shows a day.
He
They
did.
also included demos and studio sessions from around that same time, so you kind of get the kind of like a week in Los Angeles through Frank Zappa's ears and eyes, just with all the different stuff that they were doing. And I tell you, you really haven't lived until you've heard them do Village of the Sun into Echidna's Arf and Don't You Ever Wash That Thing. Um,
Mm.
those three tracks are just a powerhouse of, oh my gosh, what is going on here? I was listening to Echidna's Arf today, and it effortlessly moves between time signatures of, oh, 6 5 7 8 6. I mean, it's just all over the place, but it's just seemingly done with, as easily as you can speak words. I mean, this band is just
Effortless.
tight, like
Yeah.
Calvin Klein on, Brooke Shields tight. I mean, this is,
Woo!
really
Okay.
something.
All right.
Us old guys will know that reference. Ken
Mhm.
just blinks. Uh,
You
but
know,
yeah,
when you say
the go ahead, please.
when you mentioned the Brooke Shields and Calvin Klein, all I could think of was Joan Rivers doing a skit of that commercial on SNL in 1981, and she falls off the couch, and you could see her ass bouncing because she's laughing so hard off camera.
Okay.
Like her ass is literally going up and down, right? She's laughing so hard.
As you do with SNL outtakes,
Oh my
exactly.
God, yeah, no.
Yeah. The
That show, no, I'm telling you that I have that set. The Roxy performances. I have
Yep. Yep.
big surprise, right, guys? Um,
It's a huge surprise. Yeah, the
I,
Zappa estate has done a fantastic job over the last 5 or 10 years of deepening the legacy of what Frank Zappa did, both in the studio and live. And it's really given me a new appreciation for just how ahead of his time he was, and just what a fantastically talented and fearless band he he had at various stages of his career.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the 73 74 band, much like the King Crimson band, actually, is just a very, very special unit.
Here's a quick question for you guys. Do you, because you just mentioned how they've been releasing the Zappa sets. There's been criticism that they're releasing too many at once. Like the frequency of live releases coming out is too much. Like basically turn off the tap a little bit. Give somebody time to sonically digest what you're releasing before you release another set. Do you agree with that, or do you think that they should release them like just keep churning them out?
I know I don't have a problem because I'm not compelled to purchase all of them instantly.
Okay.
So I've been very judicious about what I select, but I get that there are the completists out there, and completists are having a hard time with some of these Zappa sets. I talked about the value of the Joni Mitchell set. The Roxy Performances was similar. It's 7 CDs, and when it came out, you can get it on Amazon at its launch for like $35.
And
And
yeah, you
it's
got it
not
for
it's not a
79.
rinky-dink set.
Right.
However, there have been subsequent Zappa releases that are like 3 discs and a Blu-ray, and it's hard to find it for under $90. So
Yeah,
it I have a fair amount of sympathy for where the hardcore Zappa completist might be fretting any new announcement of a release, because it's just going to hit him right in the wallet.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, I think there's two issues. One is the price, the financial cost if you want to, it's like
Mhm.
I'm gonna grab, you know, anything Who related and several other bands too, if I don't already have it. So I'm okay with with these artists releasing, one box set a year. That helps me in the pocket. But also, um, if they're going to release several really close together, even simultaneously, they need to make sure it's available over a longer period of time,
Yeah.
because it gets to the point that it's like, well, if I don't buy it now, later on, it's not going to be available.
Case in point, the Dress Hotel sets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and that really sucks,
Yeah.
because w-
I
we
mean,
need
yeah,
to be good stewards with our income, and
yeah,
with our money. And but there's always that, oh, if I don't get it now, I'll never be able to have it. Maybe that's an indication of a of a deeper underlying psychological issue. But yeah, I can get it. I get it for, on several different levels.
yeah,
So I'm kind of okay with them spreading things out. If they just be, consistent, that's good for me.
yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing about these Zappa sets is that while Frank was alive, when he would release albums, he was notorious for tinkering with them. So he would, not only uh, do some studio trickery where he would build a track out of an amalgam of studio material and different, selections from live performances of that tune and
Hmm.
create this kind of, wonderful hybrid beast. These box sets, I think, have a lot of value for Zappa fans because they are pure. It's what they were doing that night in the raw without it being, cut and pasted into something that Frank thought would be wonderful. Um,
Correct.
that's one of the main criticisms of most of the "you can't do that on stage anymore" sets, is that they're just a hodgepodge of different things from different eras, and sometimes you're getting, one track that's a version of a song from 71 and then like 84 mashed together. And it's like, it doesn't quite work. But I get how it's
Um,
interesting, but it's, what people want are as close to that real, experience as possible.
yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And we were talking about it today in terms of Bill and I, in terms of live recordings. I paid, Jesus Christ, I paid something like 250, no, I should say $290 for a live box set of the Grateful Dead, of concerts from, say, like 73 to 75. Now, as a as a music lover and, um, a collector, I don't appreciate putting my my hard-earned money on a box set, and when you get it, you get basically a bootleg of a concert where you can hear you can barely hear the person singing, you can barely hear the guitar. It's like, why are you gonna charge people $300 for this schlock? Like, it doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
You know, like, put the stuff together, fix it up, remaster it, alter it, tune it, whatever you need to do, and make sure it's a proper recording of whatever it is you want to release.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
basically you're cheating people out of their money in that respect. So, but
Yeah.
that's my bitch fest for the night,
Okay.
in terms of my opinion.
All
Uh,
right. We'll hold you to that.
yes, you will. All right. Over to Ken for his final pick.
Number five and final of my artist selections, um, is CSN, Crosby, Stills and Nash,
Mhm.
1991.
Yes.
Um, for me, this is a great box set because when it comes to Crosby, Stills, Nash, the first album and Deja Vu, where they added Neil Young, are in their catalog are the only real solid albums. After that, To me, it's kind of hodgepodge. So this is a 4 CD box set, 77 tracks. It runs a little over 5 hours. It covers 66 through 1990. Now, one of the great things about this is it's got all the really great um, album tracks, even from some of the lesser albums, what I consider less albums. But it
Mhm.
has rehearsal tracks, alternate takes, and especially solo tracks from each of their solo catalogs. So you're getting Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, but you're also getting Stephen Stills solo work. You're getting Graham Nash's solo work, and David Crosby. They don't for Neil Young because I think probably because, he's got such a large catalog and collection of his own.
He's Neil.
Um, he's Neil, yeah. So this is really cool for those that just haven't heard the other artists or the solo works. They just know the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young,
Yeah.
the band stuff, and not the individual solo work. And this is where I discovered um, I'm a huge Stephen Stills solo album fan because of what I got a taste for on this. I
Nice.
went down that rabbit hole and have been a huge Stephen Stills fan, ever since. This came out in 1991, so
Yeah.
um, it was great because there was a lot of stuff coming out in the 90s that I didn't particularly care for. So this is, new old music for me. So
Yeah.
again, this is in the big, you know, 10
Pizza
inch
box. Mhm.
album size box. Um, Great booklet included, and
Yep.
uh, to me, it's just the best of all three worlds. So,
Okay.
so yeah, Crosby, CSN, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
So I got two questions for you, Ken.
Ah.
Um, One, does this box set, the CSN box set, have any of the Manassas material on it? And my second question is, how do you rate the CSNY live box set from their 74 Monster Stadium tour?
Um, I really haven't delved into the live box.
Okay,
I have it, but I haven't really delved into it. There's a lot of their live stuff that I've heard that it's like, it doesn't quite come off.
okay,
But part of that is, I think, because if you're there in the audience, you've got the ambience of the room, you've got the sound system. To me, just the live stuff sounds better live when you're there than it
gotcha.
does
In
than
the
it does
moment.
on record. Yeah, and Manassas. Yes, I do believe there's a few Manassas tracks on this.
Okay.
I think
All
so.
right.
I get kind of confused because I own all those too, so
Oh, sure.
but there again, this is really great if you're only familiar with the first two albums and maybe the greatest hits album, which was called So Far.
Mhm.
Uh, so like I say, you get the best of all three worlds with this.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Jim, your fifth pick for solo
My
artist.
fifth pick, and then I actually have a sixth pick that
Of course you do.
of
Okay.
course, and it just sort of came to me as the recording started. I'm like, holy crap, I've got to include this one. So my planned fifth pick is The Complete in a Silent Way Sessions by Miles Davis. This
Oh,
was issued in 2001 as part of the um, extensive re-release program that Columbia did that really talked about each of the Columbia eras of Miles and put each of them in different sessions boxes. There were ones for the Gil Evans recordings. There were ones with Coltrane. There were ones with the second great quintet. There's two great things about this set. One, it's only three CDs, as opposed to some of those other ones that are seven. So it's a good price point to sort of enter into. And this era for In a Silent Way covers a 6 month period of 1968 through 69. A lot of the tunes, of course, ended up on In a Silent Way, but also ended up on File de Kilimanjaro, Water Babies, Circling Around, Directions. So he recorded a lot of music during this period. And this box set also has um, previously unreleased takes and previously unreleased tunes, stuff that's like brand new. I think Ghetto Walk is one of them. Um, this set is kind of opened my eyes to Miles' electric period, because this is sort of that fulcrum between his ending his acoustic based era with the second great quintet, and then really heading towards Bitches Brew and On the Corner and things like that. So to me, this is almost like the young person's guide to Miles Goes Electric. it's
Okay.
it's not so um out there in your face funk that it tries the patience, and it's not so electric noodling that it seems without form or function. It's kind of the best melding of the end of one era and the beginning of another. So for folks who like Miles, haven't said yes, I am a fully converted Miles devotee. This box set, I think, is an excellent way to open up your ears for what Miles ended up doing in the latter part of his career, from about 1970 on, where he just fully embraced electric and just never went back. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I from just the first notes of hearing the first tune, I was just sold. There's just something about this band, the several configurations that he had here. You still have Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, Tony Williams, and Herbie Hancock, but then you also have John McLaughlin, Joe Zawinul, Dave Holland, Chick Corea, Keith Jarrett. I mean, it's a murderer's row of killer jazz
Top
musicians.
notch. Yeah.
So yeah, so you're getting the creme de la creme from the period, and like I said, this is one of just, I think, 7 or 8 different box sets that Columbia released covering the different facets of Miles' career. And to
Hmm.
me, this is just one that is essential because it opens up your ears. It's easy on the wallet if you can find it. That's the thing. I da, 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 I happen to have it here. I don't know if it's going to show up very well, but I happen to obtain a copy fairly
Okay.
recently. It
See, I
is
like
on all
that.
the
See, I like
streaming.
that. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it is on all the streaming services. But if you can find a copy of the box, it's got a great set of liner notes, and it's just mwah, it's a
Yep.
fantastic box.
Yep. No, it is actually. It is. All right. Now we're moving into the compilations. Yes.
I have a sixth, good sir.
Sorry. Sorry.
My bad for calling it audible in the middle of everything. And the reason this came about is because we were talking in the beginning of this episode, many eons ago. We were
Yeah,
talking
few
about how
years
now
ago.
everyone and their brother kind of now has a box set. And there's a
Yes.
box set for like one, the Police did a 5 disc box set on Synchronicity, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of different um different flavors of what goes into a box set. And
Yeah.
this is one for a band that's very close to my heart. And they only did 2 albums. And yet, when they did this 4 CD box set, They sold out of printings of it like immediately because this band has still such a rabid fan base and they wanted to hear more from this band. And I am talking about Jellyfish. And I am talking about the 2002 box set Fan Club from the rare and unreleased and back again. This is a 4 CD collection of basically two sets of discs, the demos that would go into what would become Belly Button and some of the recording sessions, and then live tracks from the Belly Button era, and then similarly for Spilt Milk, studio sessions around that, and then live tracks from the Spilt Milk tour. The live tracks range everywhere from very, very small clubs to them opening for In Excess at Wembley Stadium in front of like 80,000 people. So you get the gamut of, Jellyfish on stage. For those who are in the know of, Jellyfish's live tracks, I mean, they cover Donovan, Bad Company, Wings, the Archies, Player, Nilsson, Argent, The Move. I mean, they're wearing their love of 70s, clearly on their sleeve. Um, it's a fantastic box because you get commentary from Andy and Roger and the other guys on pretty much all the tunes. And so you really get a perspective on what they were thinking, and it puts everything into context. Um, yeah, the Jellyfish Fan Club box set. If you can find it at a reasonable price, grab it, my friends, because it is just a delight for
Check
for any
out
fan of for any fan of Jellyfish, any fan of power pop. It's just to die for.
check it out on Discogs or eBay, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen that set before. Yeah.
And a lot of the content on that has been released in the recent 2 disc reissues of Belly Button and Spilt Milk, but there are still tracks that are unique to Fan Club and haven't been issued elsewhere.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Now I'm going to check that out myself. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to um, compilations. So over to Ken for his first one.
Okay. First of all, I want to share that for compilations, to me, the two best sources is Rhino Records and Time Life. This is
Okay.
where I've gotten a lot of my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Great Christmas compilations from Time Life people. I'm telling you.
that's right. So my first choice is from Rhino that was released in 1998. It is actually a 4 CD box set that's an expansion of a CD that had already been released. It's called Nuggets, Original Artifacts from the First Psychedelic Era, 1965 through 68. This is the first of 5, I believe, Nuggets box set that Rhino has released. This is the original. 4 CDs, 118 tracks. It runs around 6 hours.
Oh my God.
It's awesome.
I love 60s psychedelic music. I just do. And
Yeah.
this has what you'd expect. It's got the Electric Prunes, the Knickerbockers, the Strange Loves, the Seeds, the Barbarians, the Leaves, the Amboy Dukes, all the bands with the in front of their name, but also Naz and the Blues Magoos,
Okay.
and and a lot of bands that you never heard of before. But it's just uh, I was just I was in grammar school in the '60s. I don't remember, but I feel like I was born too late because this really strikes This really strikes a chord with me. Um, it it's all the stuff that you'd hear on classic rock internet radio. It's just so good.
Mhm.
Even though you might not recognize the names of the bands, you'd recognize the songs just as soon as you heard it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of it's pretty darn obscure, as well as historic cuts. So yeah, late '60s psychedelic rock, Nuggets, the original, the first box set. It's just
Mhm.
one of my all-time favorite compilation boxes.
Yeah.
I
I've
have
said
all
it
of them
before.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know that Lenny Kaye, who was one of the chief instigators in Patti Smith's band, was a major contributor to these sets. Do you know if they were his, idea? Was he like the major,
I think so.
producer in terms of what tracks went into these sets, Ken?
I don't remember.
Okay.
It's
I
been a
do know
long
he was
time since I
involved
read
in it
through the
on some
notes,
level. I do
Yeah.
remember hearing that
but
he was involved with it on some
it's a
level.
safe bet. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Jim, your
I
first.
am going to stick with Rhino Records, and I heartily echo, not hardly, echo what Ken said about them, kind of being the standard bearer for, high quality re-releases and compilations. I am going in just flat out into the 70s, and I am going with their Have a Nice Decade box, subtitled the 70s Pop Culture Box. This box was released in kind of a rectangular format and came complete with like a avocado colored piece of shag carpet embedded into the cover.
You're gonna have to send me a picture of that if you
Oh,
can.
I did.
Oh,
It's
you
it's
did.
it's
Okay,
in your
cool.
email.
Cool.
And
Cool.
it's 7 CDs, 160 tracks, and it
Woo.
covers almost the entire gamut of the 70s. Everything from like the folk rock of the Edison Lighthouse, concluding all the way with the, you know, disco soul funk of McFadden and Whitehead. And
Mhm.
everything else in between is represented. Glam, punk, disco, southern rock. I mean, there's a few artists that they just couldn't touch because of licensing and whatnot. But I tell you what, they did such a fine job of pulling out almost every possible earworm that existed from 70s AM pop radio and putting it in this set. They oh please, Ken, help a brother out. What's your
Is this
question, sir?
is this a distillation of the 25 disc set?
Yes.
Okay.
I think there
There's a
might be a
25
few
disc
tunes.
version.
Yeah, they had Have a
There,
Nice
yeah,
Decade volumes 1 through 25.
yeah, and that's called Have a Nice
Sweet
Day,
Jesus.
and this is Have a Nice Decade.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not buying it, Jim. Don't worry about that. Okay.
No,
It's second market
it really
used
is
only.
great. And
It is.
for me being a non-top 40 guy, um, there's still something about the what I consider the cringe-worthy pop
Oh yeah.
on these sets. I mean, at least it has a nostalgic aspect to it, but there's just so much of the good pop. Like I said,
Exactly.
it's like for me, there's um, pop categorizing something as pop um, is not necessarily bad.
Right.
Unfortunately, just a lot of pop is bad, but
Hmm.
there's darn good stuff too. And either one of these sets, even if it's just the smaller Have a Nice Decade with the AstroTurf or whatever it's just you know for us old guys, you got to have it in your library.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then check it out.
And just to kind of point out what you were saying, Ken, about these cringeworthy pop songs, and you think about "Love Will Keep Us Together" by Captain and Tennille, "You Light Up My Life" by
Debbie
Debbie
Boone.
Debbie Boone, yeah. Um,
Dances in the
and there's a few
sun.
other usual suspects in that category.
Yeah,
Within this context, they're glorious because it just speaks to what the 70s were all about. And so if you're in that mindset
that's
and
right.
you're sort of in that down that road, it doesn't matter that I'm just going to pick a couple songs like "Sister Golden Hair" by America, to me, which is like a 10 out of 10, next to "Love Will Keep Us Together." I don't know if both of those songs are on there or even on the same disc or right next to each other, but I'm just telling you, it's that level of quality that goes throughout
Well,
the whole set.
in
It's
yeah, well, in the
fantastic.
70s, things weren't so much divided into subgenres.
Yeah,
There was
absolutely.
there wasn't, you know, 10 or 12 different Billboard charts. There was one. I mean, well,
Yep.
there were singles and then there were albums, period. So
Right.
you'd hear Seasons in the Sun, and right after that you'd hear the Jackson Five.
Yes.
Then you
Perfect.
would
Perfect illustration.
Yeah, and then you'd hear Sugarloaf. And after that, who knows what it could be
It
the Miracles or Stevie Wonder.
it comes
Yeah.
down to in the 70s, a good song was a good song, regardless of
Hmm.
genre
Yeah,
or marketing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? A good song was a good song. So I understand what you're saying. All right, now I got to check this out. No, oh my God. Okay. Um, okay, over to Ken.
Okay, my second compilation. Um, um, I'm gonna wear my Motown shirt that I don't own. And
Okay.
it's a 10 CD box set called Motown, the complete number ones.
Oh,
It came in that little box that was in the shape of of the house,
yes.
Hitsville,
USA. Okay,
which
it's for
which
USA.
was the
Okay,
main
yeah.
offices of Motown at the time. 10 CDs, 208 tracks that tracks in at just at 13 hours. And
Woo!
it's all of the number ones. I don't remember at what point. The set came out at 2008, so I forgot to look to see how late, the number ones. But it's got the Miracles, Mary Wells, Stevie Wonder, Martha Reeves, The Temptations, Supremes, Junior Walker, Marvin Gaye, The Four Tops, Smokey Robinson, Jeremy Ruffin, Jackson Five. It's all the Motown you can eat and more. And it's just nostalgia heaven.
Okay.
And it's just and there are several really great Motown box sets, but this is the one. It's the complete number ones. You know what you're gonna get,
Yep.
It's
and
glorious.
if that's what you want, you will not be disappointed. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay.
I love me some Motown.
Me too.
Jamie frickin' Jamerson, man.
Yep, yep,
Boy,
yep,
could he play some
yep, yep,
bass.
yep, yep, yep.
Oh,
All
all
right,
right.
Jim.
I'm gonna stick in the soul neighborhood, and this is from a reissue label, much like Rhino is, that does not have Rhino's distribution prowess, and they don't have that kind of slips off the tongue very easily um, cachet that Rhino has. But these guys are getting up to being second to none in terms of finding obscure, esoteric um, music across all genres and re-releasing it to the masses. And they have various different ways of doing it, either via a specific label or a specific genre or the music from a specific city. I mean, they have a set that covers Minneapolis from the very early 80s called Purple Snow. They have sets that cover New York punk and grunge from a label called Orc Records. And the one I'm going to cover today is called the Bodie Recording Company. And this is from the Numero Group, is the label that puts these things together. Um, I try to kind of give a flavor of what Numero does, and they do a little bit of everything. They'll also do, compilations of, you know, acid rock and stoner rock and, folksy guitarists, before Windham Hill existed, things like that. But
Yeah.
the Bodie Recording Company is a compilation of soul, R&B, funk, and gospel tunes that were released from this one label run by a husband and wife out of Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm just going to give a little bit of the Numero Group spiel about this set. Um, excuse Okay, from 1958 to 93, Thomas and Louise Bodie's industrious Bodie Recording Company issued nearly 300 albums and 45s, recorded 10,000 hours of tape, and remained in operation longer than any other studio, pressing plant, or label group in the history of Cleveland. The 58 tracks on these three CDs represent the best of the Bodie's in-house Soul Kitchen, Luau, and Bounty labels, which released an unspoiled treasure trove of kitchen sink eccentric soul, buzzbox funk, shoestring doo-wop, and haunted, eerily hook-laden spirituals. And I'm telling you, this is a precise description of what you get with this box set. It's three CDs. You can just tell from the way they describe it that they have enough for more. In fact, they did release sort of a companion CD, so it's almost a four CD box set. This is one of the greatest sets of like underground funk, R&B, soul, and gospel that I've ever heard. And to me, I would put it up there with um, with Motown because the quality of the recordings, the genuineness, the variety in the tracks, it's just got a heart to it and an authenticity that, although it won't be as popular or as hook laden as Motown, there's just something about these recordings that to me have them shine with that same sort of brilliance and luminescence as the Motown sets. No, there's no James Jamerson, so you don't have that rock going on. But I tell you, the Bodie Recording Company set from the Numero Group is highly, highly, highly recommended. At the time we're doing this recording, this 3D CD set is actually on sale from the Numero Group for like $15. So that's $5 a disc, boys and girls. And I think I may have to go and do some double dipping here because just the entire Numero output is steeped in quality. Not only do you get the CDs, but you get amazing history and liner notes. I mean, it's a if you're a music fan who's OCD, this is the label for you.
Well,
They
that's
do a
me.
fantastic job. Is that a question, or are you self-identifying as an OCD music fan?
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
If they did not release an album or a box set of dance music called Shake Your Booty, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Okay.
They may very well have. On the other side, Ken, you may just end up being disappointed. But
Okay.
Mm,
but I tell you, the
put that
Numero
on my
Group stuff
wish
is
list then. Yeah.
do it, do it. They are also on all the streaming services. So if you want to get just a taste of what Numero Group does, it's available there. But again, this to me is like a no-brainer um, recommendation.
Very good.
All right. Okay. Ken, your next pick.
Okay. Number three, this is going to be the monster of my list. um, another Rhino release from 2019. It's the Woodstock Back to the Garden, the
Ooh,
definitive
ooh.
50th anniversary archive. 38 CDs,
What?
432 tracks, over 36 hours.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Oh my.
It's it and according to the notes, it is nearly all the performances. I'm not sure why it is not all of them. Maybe it was, recording quality or whatever.
Licensing, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way they did it was really cool because what they did is um, there is basically one CD for each of the artists.
Oh,
So you
I
got
like
one
that.
CD of the Who. And there's some exceptions. I think Jefferson Airplane, and one other where there's actually two CDs. So they are complete sets from
Wow.
almost every single artist
I've
there.
seen it before, yeah. Yeah. I'm
It's a
trying to buy it.
monster. It's a monster. Yeah. Um, it's luckily there are some smaller versions of this. I think
I
there's a
want the full.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's a 10 CD and I think a 10 album or 12 album version. Because let's face it, when you're talking a box set that's running, 400, I don't remember how much it was retail,
You're
but
looking at
it was
$400.
around $400. Yeah. Um, so at least to make some of that previously unavailable, there's some smaller sets available.
Yeah.
But yeah, 38 CDs, over 36 hours worth of music. It's definitely for the hardcore fan, but yeah, like I said, unless they find some way to release this, holographically, this is gotta be the ultimate.
Hmm.
Or
So
maybe with ambient smells.
Oh, no, 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 we won't go there. All right, moving on.
with the
Next,
For the
brown
complete
heroin in the
Woodstock
box, I
experience,
know.
yeah.
some experiences do not need to be experienced again. Okay, so
Well,
what's
if you remember it, you weren't there, so yeah.
yeah, no, there you go. There you go.
Ah.
Oh, Joni.
Hmm, there you go. All right, Jim, your next one.
I'm gonna stick with Rhino Records again because they almost rule the roost in this category. This is the next decade following the 70s. So this is oh my God, the 80s pop culture box set. Totally. That is the complete and totally title of this box set. Like the 70s pop culture box set, this one does not have an avocado colored shag rug, but it does have a very, day glow type of cover, which looks totally,
Oh yeah.
appropriate for the time period.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
142 tracks across 7 CDs.
Oh, sweet
Um,
Jesus.
everything from the it starts off with Whip It from Devo and ends with some schmaltzy Richard Marx song. And like the 70s box, every facet of 80s music is covered. You've got everything from, new wave to hair metal to pop soul dance to um, Pac-Man Fever to You Look Marvelous by Billy Crystal.
Oh my God.
Um, I mean, again, there is almost no stone unturned in this set, and it doesn't quite have the absolute joy that the 70s set has, because even the songs that were cringe in the 70s, we were talking about, in their context, it's just absolute joyfulness. With the 80s, it's kind of like, all right, these songs are just cringe,
Yeah.
period.
Let's
Cringe
go nuts.
factor alert. Yeah, cringe
You know,
factor.
they're
Yeah.
there's something about Wild Wild West that does not improve over time, like the way, Love Will Keep Us Together can be appreciated over time. But just for their complete dedication to the cause, and putting together these awesome sets, um, like oh my god, the '80s pop culture box friend totally is, again, worth seeking out, and you got to add it to your record collection because it's just it just captures that decade
Yes,
so well.
yes.
Totally. All
For
right.
sure.
Sure. All right.
And I'm not done with the '80s. We'll come back to the '80s for my number five.
Perfect. Okay. Ken, over to you.
The downside of these compilation sets is some of them are very, very complete. Unfortunately, you're not going to get any Beatles. You're not going to get any Led Zeppelin because they would not license their music to um, these other companies.
Yeah,
It,
the
Right.
Eagles wouldn't either.
so just warning you there. If you think, well, this can't be the best because there's no Beatles. Well, no, they would have if they could have.
Yeah.
So for my fourth, I'm going to jump to Time Life. I have a lot of Time Life series and whatever from 60s through the 80s, especially. Um, this is a particular box set. It's just Lifetime presents the 60s.
Okay.
It's a white box set. It's 8 CDs and one DVD. It is 150 tracks. Um, it runs about 7.5 hours long. Um,
Okay.
it is what I consider the more popular and rock songs, not so much of the bubblegum. So it's more the stuff that I like. So you've got Jefferson Airplane, the Yardbirds, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Bob Dylan, the Hollies, the Byrds, Donovan. Um, all of what I consider even the rock pop,
I got it.
doesn't go in one extreme to bubblegum and it doesn't go the other extreme in the real heavy psychedelic. But you know, just like some of these other sets, like the ones Jim's talking about, the 70s and 80s, it's just such a good collection of the really good stuff of the mid to late 60s. Um,
Mhm.
and it's I love these Time Life series.
Okay.
Most of the time they weren't available as individual boxes. They were individual discs that you would kind of subscribe to,
Yeah.
um, like Columbia House used to, and they send you one a month or every 6 weeks or some. And
Yeah.
some of those are absolutely fantastic. But this is one box set that it's a no-brainer for me. Time Life presents the 60s, and it came out in 2017, so it's a relatively newer of the
Relatively
box set.
new. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah,
Okay. Perfect. All right. The man of the hour. Don't need
I'm
for
gonna
your
class
number
up the
five.
joint here. It's all me, yeah. I'm gonna class up the joint here by turning to the Smithsonian.
Oh
If
Lord.
those of you who don't know, the Smithsonian as an archival, record label, yes, have the
Oh
pinky
yes.
out.
Yes. Posh.
And
Very
this
posh.
is, yes, quite. They do all sorts of
Yeah.
things in the Smithsonian. In fact, they even have a Smithsonian collection on the origins of rap, which cover like 8 CDs. Um, I'm not discussing that one
Thank
because
God.
that's just
Come on.
rap is not in my wheelhouse.
Rap is
However, I
short for
am going to
crap.
cover what's that, Armando?
I just said rap is short for crap.
Well, to some. Um,
Go on.
this is the Smithsonian collection of classic jazz, and they
Ooh.
have released this in three different um, manners. They first released it as a 6 LP set in the 80s. It came out, I believe, in the 90s as reissued as a 5 CD set, reissued and expanded. And then the latest version is a 6 CD set called Jazz, the Smithsonian Anthology. Now, what is fantastic about this particular set, kind of like the way Rhino covers all the different genres within the 70s. The Smithsonian Collection tips its hat to all the different genres of jazz, and it covers everything from Scott Joplin piano rolls recorded in the tens all the way through, Medeski, Martin, and Wood, funk jazz that came out, last decade.
Okay.
Um, and so it doesn't matter if it's stride piano, swing, early bebop, um, you know, free jazz, soul jazz, all the usual suspects are covered. Ellington, Dizzy, Parker, Coltrane, Miles, Bill Evans, Keith Jarrett, Pat Metheny, I mentioned Medeski, Martin, and Wood.
Yeah.
It does, and any of these sets, if you can find them, are um, well worth the research, and it does a a great job of providing you the history of jazz in a box. And I think it does a better job of it than like the Ken Burns jazz sets,
Hmm.
mostly because Ken was striving a little more towards stuff that was more commercially viable. Whereas the stuff in the Smithsonian set was put together by the real jazz nerds who say, okay, the art of jazz took a left turn here,
Hmm.
and it didn't take it to the point where it alienated the total audience. It alienated some, but it kind of is a set of the major milestones and markers within jazz. And yes, you do have Billie Holiday, you have Ella Fitzgerald, um, Sarah Vaughan, I think, is in here, and it was the thing that opened my ears to what a great platform jazz can be, and it sort of got me out of the rock ghetto that I was finding myself, kind of circling in within the 80s.
Yeah.
And again, I highly, highly, highly recommend this set for anyone who wants an introduction to jazz, or just someone who appreciates it and wants to dig into a little bit more of the history and why it's so important. Again, huge booklet that comes with it that goes into all the different tunes, why these tunes were so important or groundbreaking.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think some of this is streaming, but if you can find the sets, they are worth every dollar, every penny, again, because of the fine, fine research that goes into it. And like I said, it's like a history of jazz just in one convenient box.
Okay. Perfect. A lot
Highly
of stuff I
recommended,
need to check
Armando.
out.
Yep.
Yes, a lot of stuff I need to check out. My God, my poor bank account. Um, Chapter 11, ladies and gentlemen. Now, um, we are going into the break.
I think Ken has one more, and then I have one
Yes.
too.
Sorry. Ken, do you have one more, or are we done all
Yes,
five?
yes, I do. This is
Okay.
number five.
Sorry. My
That's
apologies.
fine. This is the 4 CD box that
It's a
focuses
long
on
show,
artists
folks.
from one particular record label, and that was the groundbreaking record label Stiff.
Okay.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
the Stiff Records box set from 1992. 4 CDs, 96 tracks.
Yeah.
Only runs about 5 hours. That's because
Only.
new wave and post punk, the songs were very rarely even as long as 3 minutes long. This is the early works of Nick Lowe, The Damned, Elvis Costello, The Adverts, Dave Edmunds, Reckless Eric, Ian Dury and the Blockheads, Graham Parker and the Rumor, Lena Lovitch, Devo, Rachel Sweet, Madness. I mean, it is um
Lena Lovitch. Oh my
yeah, and
God.
it's a wonderful collection of late 70s, early 80s new wave post
Yeah.
um
Okay.
it's you know, I can't help but just kind of almost smile and laugh my way through this
All right. If
because yeah, I discovered new wave with Elvis Costello in I think it was 1996 or 7, and you know, it's like holy cow, what's this? And this is the perfect 4 CD box set that really encapsulates what was going on in those early days. The Stiff Records box set.
yeah. The only artist that's missing from that list would be, for me, that would make it complete, would be Nina Hagen. Um,
You might not have been on Stiff.
no, she was on Epic, but I
Yeah,
mean, her tracks, Smack Jack, oh my God. I mean, singing,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
remember that song. Yeah. Look up the video, guys, for Smack Jack from Nina Hagen. It's
Yeah. So technically, I'm to
hilarious.
the opposite end of when Jim just came from. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, down to Jim for his fifth pick.
This is kind of an honorable mention because it was never issued as a box, but it was issued as a series, and it was issued by our dear friends at Rhino Records. This is the 15 disc series entitled New Wave Hits of the 80s. Now, if you want the Smithsonian thing was like a primer on jazz. This 15 disc set series is a primer on how music moved from the pseudo disco to kind of, almost the edge of goth rock with across this set. Each disc is arranged somewhat thematically, like the late, there'll be eras that are like late 70s. There'll be ones that are all power pop. There'll be ones that are more geared towards synth pop. There are ones that are all like you know non-US bands that contributed to new wave moving forward. But and in that time span, it goes from like 1978, from Blondie's One Way or Another, to disc 15, which is 1984, the Lords of the New Church cover of Madonna's Like a Virgin.
The Lords of the
So
New Church. I haven't heard that name
Yeah.
in years.
yeah. Now, I just want to give you a taste of the titles on just one of the discs. This happens to be disc 5, and I'll just run through some of the song titles, and I know you're going to hear them in your head. I Want Candy, I Know What Boys Like, Kids in America, Love Plus One, Someday, Someway, Town Called Malice, 8675309,
Vinny.
Vacation, Valley Girl, Iran, Art of Parties, Homo Sapien, Mickey. That's just one. That's
Oh
just
my
one disc.
God. Okay, okay,
I
okay.
mean, this
Okay.
series is absolutely insane.
I need
Of
a cigarette
every,
after that.
fantastic, piece of ear candy that came out in the early 80s to some of the more obscure stuff too. So for like every power pop epic you would have on here, like the Go-Go's Vacation, you also have Oh Superman by Laurie Anderson. I mean, again, they covered a freaking gamut. If this deserved to be like a box set, but the good news is that you can find all 15 volumes, on your second markets here and there. And again, it's just brilliant, brilliant stuff. New wave hits of the 80s.
Discogs, here I come. Good.
Yep.
No, no, no. You've really interested me in that. My God. Okay. Um, Now, ladies and gentlemen,
As we near the 2 hour mark.
yes, we are at the 2 hour mark practically. This is the extended series, ladies and gentlemen, of this segment. Now we are going into wish lists, okay? Where both Ken and Jim are gonna pick artists that they wish had box sets put together. So I will continue with the way things are going. We'll go with Ken for his first pick.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to go through all of five of mine in one. I won't go into a lot of details because I think they're pretty much self-explanatory.
Okay,
One is I would like a deluxe box of the Who by numbers. Now
self-explanatory.
I've already talked about the Who already, and I read over this past year that the original tapes were unearthed.
Yes.
And so that leads me to believe that they have the original source material in which to make this happen. Um, I know the Who by Numbers is not necessarily considered their best album. I love it. So, if they could do the Who Sell Out, they can do a box set of Who by Numbers. I
Mhm.
would also like a box of the complete recordings of Gary Burton and Pat Metheny together. Gary Burton gave Pat Metheny his big break.
Ooh.
I love both of them individually anyway. I knew Gary Burton before I knew who Pat Metheny was. So, a box with their complete works together would be just absolutely heaven to me. I
Smoking.
would also like a deluxe edition of Billy Joel's Turnstiles, which is my favorite Billy Joel album. I would love a deluxe edition of that. Um,
May
they
I just interject that they just announced a deluxe edition of Street Life
Street Life
Serenade?
Serenade. Yeah, they've done that.
So
They've already done Piano Man.
signs
So,
are good.
yeah, Turnstiles. Yeah, I love that album. That would be great. I would like to see deluxe edition of the Split Ends albums remastered. They have never
Mm.
been remastered. There's only been one that has, and even that's kind of hard to get. The True Colors album. I would like to have those all remastered and expanded upon if possible.
Okay.
Um, Split Ends is one of my favorite new wave bands from the old days. And my final of the five, I would love a super deluxe box set of Elvis Costello's Imperial Bedroom. To me, I, I love so many of his albums, but to me, that was his Sergeant Pepper for me.
Okay.
Um, they just came out with King of America, a huge box set for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. They have.
They've done box sets for, I think,
Armed Forces.
Armed Forces. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was trying to think of. And also an extended box set of the album he did with Burt Bacharach. So
Mm.
I just love the super deluxe of that, and actually any of the albums, the first five, whether it be Trust. I don't know if there's any material left from Get Happy. I love that album.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, so this is where I stopped at number five. I've got a long list of wish lists, but these are my five for this episode.
Okay, and I'm going on record as saying right now that we are going to do an album discussion of Imperial Bedroom at some point. I have the album on your recommendation. I guess I can include you, Jim, on this episode.
Bill
I'll
has
talk
a
some
copy.
Elvis. Yep.
Bill has a copy now.
Yep,
So
and I'll talk to Bill, and we're going to do an in-depth album discussion on Elvis Costello's Imperial Bedroom. Now, down to Jim for his five.
I actually only have four, and I
Oh,
promise I won't come in with an honorable mention or something that I just discovered while I was talking.
that's fine.
Um,
Four first
so
wishes. Go ahead.
okay. So I'm gonna kind of join in with my friend Ken on having something Matheny related. I would like a Pat Metheny group bootleg series, much like the way that Miles has a bootleg series where there's like one period of time and or one particular tour where they, kind of include everything and the kitchen sink. I would love like one complete show, whether it's an actual show or compiled from every tour, and featuring at least one version of every track that they ever recorded. So yes, I'm selfish that way. Um, I mean, obviously, Pat has one outstanding live album with Travels, and The Road to You is pretty darn good as well. But there's something about his full shows that have yet to be captured and chronicled um, on CD. On DVD, you come pretty close, but not the full thing. So
Okay.
the Pat Metheny bootleg series. I have another artist with whom I would like a complete bootleg series, and that would be Genesis. Again, one complete show, actual or compiled from every tour, with at least one version of every track. As much as I love Seconds Out, it's incomplete of what was done on those 76 and 77 tours. As much as I enjoy Three Sides Live, again, incomplete. Genesis Live, yeah, you're missing songs of that era that they performed live. So, again, a Genesis complete bootleg series, I think, would also uh, make a lot of fans happy because they've complained and groused about the various different Genesis releases, whether it was expanded editions of the original albums or the archive sets, what have you. Um, so those are my first two. Number three is simply titled Springsteen 78, which is the year that Springsteen unleashed himself, live upon his fan base. I mean, the 75 shows were great, but in 78, it was like the rule book is getting thrown out and we are just going for it every night. So I would love a set that features at least one version of every track performed on the 1978 tour. I don't need 47 versions of Kitty's Back. I'll just take one great one. But, all the versions of, all the different covers that he did, um, would be great. If they left out Santa Claus is Going to Town, I would be fine with that. Everything else,
I
though,
wanted it in, but that's just me.
okay, fair enough. The completist says he wants it in. We'll have it in there.
There we go.
Okay, my last one, which is very much in the pipe dream of box sets that will probably never, ever come to pass, is the complete Steely Dan sessions of 1971 through 1980. I want every scrap and iota and
Ooh.
unused drum track and rejected peg guitar solos, and who cares if it comes from someone's bootleg cassette. Who come If it comes from Roger Nichols' desk and it has to be AI engineered to be sonically acceptable, I'll take it. For those of you who've heard the second arrangement or the bear, you know what I'm talking about. Because that stuff, to me, it's not quite as stands sonically with what they did on Gaucho, but as far as songwriting goes, oh, mm. Anyway,
All right.
yes, the complete Steely Dan sessions would be my
Hmm.
uh my box set Nirvana.
Okay.
I would take that up a notch. I would like
Bring it.
I would like on a CD-ROM where it has all of the tracks and um, and all of the individual tracks, so I could listen, add different guitar solos and different drums because they recorded, um,
Yes.
especially in the latter albums,
Okay.
they recorded multiple guitar solos for Peg, for instance, but they only
Yep.
used one. and I want to
Yep.
be able to do my own mix just to see what it would have been
Perfect.
like in an alternate universe.
Okay.
Um,
I'm with you, Ken.
and
That
I
needs to
would, and
be.
yeah, and otherwise, I agree with you 100%. But if they're going to go that far, they might as well take that one little step farther
Hey,
because it would
Peter
be
Gabriel
easy to
did it
do.
way back in '93 with the Explora CD-ROM,
Mhm.
where you were able to kind of create your own versions of, I think it was Digging in the Dirt and Kiss That Frog and Steam,
Yeah.
where on the CD-ROM he had, like 8 different tracks that you can play with and
Right.
just bump the mix here and there. So,
And I think
yeah,
Todd Rundgren did that too. But
okay,
I never purchased it. But anyway,
Yeah.
back in the 90s.
back in the day.
In the day.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been an episode, but I'm going to chime in with my selected picks.
Bring it.
Please.
In terms of box sets for artists or bands, or artists slash bands, I've been lately listening to Bruce Springsteen. So my two favorite ones of his catalog are the reissued sets of The Promise, Darkness on the Edge of Town,
Yep.
and The Ties That Bind, otherwise known as The River. Now,
Yep.
what's fantastic about these sets is Darkness on the Edge of Town has the additional 21 track album called The Promise. All these songs are recorded, engineered, produced, or mixed, produced, done proper. These are not 10th generations that you hear somebody passing gas halfway through the track and they keep it on the track. These are properly done, engineered pieces of music.
Sure.
Mhm.
And also included in these sets are live videos, like live shows that were done. Again, these are not filmed with a handy cam, from the 50th row. These are done from like the second row, pro shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that's on Darkness of the Edge of Town was basically what was broadcast on the big screen for the people sitting in the cheap seats.
Yeah.
Yeah, pro shot, perfectly done. Now, with the history of the river, the original title was going to be The Ties That Bind. He had recorded a 10-track single disc, handed it into Columbia, ready to go, ready to be pressed. A week before it was going to be pressed, he said, "Give me back the album. I need to record some more music." Okay. All right. And he wrote and recorded 10 more tracks, changed the name of the album to The River. The rest is what they call proverbial history. Now, in terms of compilation sets, I really don't know of any sets that I can name off the top of my head that I know readily enough to talk about. I.e. nuggets, etc. But in terms of wish list,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mother McCree. Here we go. Now, um, if it was possible, I would like terms, I guess you call it a bootleg series or an official release. I would like a properly recorded concert of every Queen tour from 1974 to 1980 because those are the years that Queen were considered to be at the top of their game. Okay. Um, and I'm talking about shows from like Queen 2, the Queen 2 tour up to the game. So that would be a massive set. They would include songs that were never recorded on in studio, like Hangman, which was a Freddie Mercury composition. Now, for me, that would be pretty much the ultimate. Those sets I just talked about, plus the um live recordings from the Every Queen tour. Pretty much that is what would make it perfect for me. Now, listening to the two of you tonight, I have learned more than I thought I was going to learn about these.
Hey,
Okay, and bloody hell, my bank account is going to suffer over time.
sorry,
Okay. I am
sorry.
I'm not going to go out tomorrow and start buying this and this and this and this. I will keep them in my head. I will make notes and I will eventually buy them. But I want to thank you two for introducing me to some new stuff and stuff that I would really sit and listen to and get into. And just
Cool.
a little quick footnote. In terms of a compilation set, I have to say that out of all the sets that have come out, like in the early 90s, like the Bowie, etc., I would say that the first Led Zeppelin set with the orange cover, etc., I would say that that set for me was the quintessential box set to listen to because as uh as Ken said, it had all of the I guess you'd say hits, but it had all, you know, the album tracks. And I do believe that the fact that they released a second double disc set of um of other album tracks like Carouselabra, whatever, I think that that was just a money grab, in my very humble opinion. I did buy it, don't get me wrong, but
Yep.
I do believe that they could have put if they had put Carouselabra from Into the Outdoor on the original Led Zeppelin on the first Led Zeppelin box set. Mwah, chef's kiss. It would have been sublime. It would have been the set to own. So,
Mhm.
but that is my list. It pales in comparison to what you guys have put together. But you know what? It's good to host these once in a while. I don't always have to be involved. Um, and I've enjoyed this so much, like just listening to new ideas and possibilities and new possible additions to my collection. That's eventually going to happen at some point. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Damn right. Uh,
And there are some other, classic box sets that, we didn't talk about. I mean, I think you mentioned Bowie's Sound and Vision,
yes.
was great. James Brown's Star Time is, fantastic in
Yeah.
and of itself.
Yeah.
Rhino has umpteen different categories
Like,
of box sets
yeah, like
for
the
all kinds of eras. So,
yeah, like the Sound and Vision set from Bowie. It starts off with Bowie introducing the demo, the audition that he did for Mercury Records.
mhm.
And and it starts off with Space Oddity
Mhm.
as an
Yep.
audition tape.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So you hear him introducing the song and what they're gonna do and how, why they're gonna do it. And I mean, that stuff you can't replace. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So if you're lucky to have that sound and visions that you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, but
And some of these box sets make things very economical. I mean, the Steely Dan box set,
Sure.
Citizen, that was all of the phase one of Steely Dan, all the way through Gaucho.
mhm.
You know,
Yep.
it's definitely the cheapest way if it's still in print, to get all that first
Discogs,
generation albums.
Yeah,
Discogs,
eBay or Discogs,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and the Citizen thing, plus it had, not only the albums, but you got FM, you got Here at the Western World, you've got the single, the live version of Bodhisattva,
Mhm.
and then you've got the pre Can't Buy a Thrill demo
Yeah.
with Flo and Eddie on is it Everyone's Gone to the Movies? I forget, but one of there's another older tune on there that had never seen the light of day, which to me would be tells me that yes, there could maybe someday be a Steely Dan Sessions box
Sure.
if Donald and the lawyers wanted to.
There you go. There we go.
But yeah, you bring up a good point, Ken, about the economicality of it all.
Yeah. And same thing with Zeppelin, Armando. You said the second one was a cash grab, but if you have the first one, you add that second one, you had all of the Led Zeppelin stuff.
Which I do.
So,
Yeah,
I do.
yeah. So there you
Somewhere in
go.
the house. I do.
it's out of order.
That's right.
Come
There
on.
That's right.
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thinking outside the box. Now, I want to thank both my co-hosts and cohorts for chiming in on this episode and giving us their lists of various box sets and wishful configurations that they would love to own. Again, thank you for watching the extended edition of said episode. Now, please put down in the comments below any box set that you own, or any box that you'd love to own, or any wish list that you would have. Again, we'd love to get a dialogue going on this. And yeah, I mean, I've always said before, if you think once you think you know all there is to know about music, you might as well just call it a day and go fishing, do something else. Music is everlasting. It's always new, always fresh, and you always learn something unexpected, right? Like I did on this episode. So again, for Ken and Jim, I'm Armando signing off for now. Please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. We've got more content coming up with these two and also with Mr. Bill Schuster coming up. And yeah, yeah. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And again, thank the two of you for helping me out with this episode. And we'll see you soon with more shows. All right. Have a good night, guys. Bye for now.